Hello. I'm gonna read chapter 3.
Oh, that's a good one. I became insane with long intervals of horrible sanity.
Chapter 3. Watson. You lost your temper, Ullman had said. Only here's your furnace, Watson said, turning on a light in the dark, musty-smelling room. He was a beefy man with fluffy popcorn hair, white shirt, and dark green chinos. Chinos. He swung open a small square grating in the furnace's belly, and he and Jack peered in together. This here's the pilot light. A steady blue-white jet hissing steadily upward channeled destructive force, but the key word Jack thought was destructive and not channeled. If you stuck your hand in here, the barbecue would happen in 3 quick seconds. Lost your temper. Danny, are you all right? The furnace filled the entire room, by far the biggest and oldest Jack had ever seen. The pilot's got a fail-safe, Watson told him. Little sensor in there measures heat. If the heat falls below a certain point, it sets off a buzzer in your quarters. Boiler's on the other side of the wall. I'll take you around. He slammed the grating shut and led Jack behind the iron bulk of the furnace toward another door. The iron radiated a stuporous heat at them, and for some reason Jack thought of a large dozen cat. Watson jingled his keys and whistled. Lost your... When he went back into his study and saw Danny standing there, wearing nothing but his training pants and a grin, a slow red cloud of rage had eclipsed Jack's reason. It had seemed slow subjectively inside his head, but it must have all happened in less than a minute. It only seemed slow the way some dreams seem slow, the bad ones. Every door and drawer in his study seemed to have been ransacked in the time he had been gone. Closet, cupboards, the sliding bookcase, every desk drawer yanked out to the stop. His manuscript, the 3-act play he had been slowly developing from a novelette he had written 7 years ago as an undergraduate, had scattered all over the floor. He had been drinking a beer and doing the Act 2 corrections when Wendy said the phone was for him, and Danny had poured the can of beer all over the pages. Probably to see it foam. See it foam, see it foam. The words played over and over in his mind like a single sick chord on an out-of-tune piano, completing the circuit of his rage. He stepped deliberately toward his 3-year-old son, who was looking up at him with the pleased grin. His pleasure at the job of work so successfully and recently completed in Daddy's study. Danny began to say something, and that was when he had grabbed Danny's hand and bent it to make him drop the typewriter eraser and the mechanical pencil he was clenching it in it. Danny had cried out a little, "No, no, tell the truth," he screamed. It was all hard to remember through the fog of anger, the sick single thump of that one Spike Jones chord. Wendy somewhere asking what was wrong, her voice faint, dumped by the inner mist. This was between the two of them. He had whirled Danny around to spank him, his big adult fingers digging into the scant meat of the boy's forearm, meeting around it in a closed fist, and the snap of the breaking bone had not been loud. Not loud, but it had been very loud, huge, but not loud. Just enough of a sound to slit through the red fog like an arrow, but instead of letting in sunlight, that sound let in the dark clouds of shame and remorse, the terror, the agonizing convulsion of the spirit. A clean sound with the past on one side of it and all the future on the other. A sound like a breaking pencil lead or a small piece of kindling when you brought it down over your knee. A moment of utter silence on the other side, in respect to the beginning future, maybe, all the rest of his life. Seeing Danny's face drain of color until it was like cheese. Seeing his eyes, always large, grow larger still and glassy. Jack, sure the boy was going to faint dead away into a puddle of beer and papers. His own voice weak and drunk, slurry, trying to take it all back, to find a way around that not too loud sound of bone cracking and into the past. Is there a status quo in this house? Saying, "Danny, are you all right?" Danny's answering shriek, then Wendy's shocked gasp as she came around them and saw the peculiar angle Danny's forearm and had to his elbow. No arm was meant to hang quite that way in a world of normal families.
Halloween Great Escape. Who's the guy?
Oh, what's his name?
Donald Pleasance.
Yeah, Donald Pleasance. Her own scream as she swept him into her arms, and a nonsense babble. Oh God, Danny, oh dear God, oh sweet God, your poor sweet arm. And Jack was standing there, stunned and stupid, trying to understand how a thing like this could have happened. He was standing there, and his eyes met the eyes of his wife, and he saw that Wendy hated him. It did not occur to him what the hate might mean in practical terms. It was only later that he realized she might have left him that night, gone to a motel, gotten a divorce lawyer in the morning, or called the police. She saw only that his wife hated him, and he felt staggered by it. All alone, he felt awful. This was what oncoming death felt like. Then she fled for the phone and dialed the hospital with their screaming boy wedged in the crook of her arm. And Jack did not go after her. He only stood in the ruins of his office smelling beer and thinking, "You lost your temper." He rubbed his hand harshly across his lips and followed Watson into the boiler room. It was humid in here, but it was more than the humidity that brought the sick and slimy sweat onto his brow and stomach and legs. The remembering did that. It was a total thing that made the night 2 years ago seem like 2 hours ago. There was no lag. It brought the shame and revulsion back, the sense of having no worth at all, and that feeling always made him want to have a drink. And the wanting of a drink brought still blacker despair. Would he ever have an hour, not a week, or even a day, mind you, but just one waking hour when the craving for a drink wouldn't surprise him like this? "The boiler," Watson announced. He pulled a red and blue bandana from his back pocket, blew his nose with a decisive honk, and thrust it back out of sight after a short peek into it to see if he had gotten anything interesting. The boiler stood on 4 cement blocks, a long cylindrical metal tank, copper-jacketed and often patched. It squatted beneath a confusion of pipes and ducts which zigzagged upward into the high cobweb-festooned basement ceiling. To Jack's fright, 2 large heating pipes came through the wall from the furnace in the adjoining room. "Pressure gauge is here," Watson tapped it. "Pounds per square inch, PSI. I guess you know that. I got her up to 100 now, and the room's got a little chilly at night. Few guests complain. What the fuck? They're going to come up here in September anyway. Besides, this is an old baby. Got more patches on her than a pair of welfare overalls." Out came the bandana, a honk, a peek, back it went. "Got me fucking cold," Watson said conversationally. "I get one every September. I'd be tinkering down here with the old whore. Then I'd be out cutting the grass or raking the rock court. Get a chill and catch a cold."
Roke court.
"Roke court, get a chill and catch a cold," my old mom used to say. God bless her. She's been dead 6 years. Cancer got her. Only the cancer gets you. You might as well make your will. You want to keep your press up to no more than 50, maybe 60. Mr. Ullman, he says to heat the west wing one day, central wing the next, east wing the day after that. Ain't he a crazy man? I hate that little fucker. Yap, yap, yap. All the livelong day. He's just like one of those little dogs that bites you on the ankle, then run around and pee all over the rug.
Sammy.
If brains with black powder, he couldn't blow his own nose. It's pity the things you see when you ain't got a gun. Look here, you open and close these ducts by pulling these rings. I got 'em all marked for you. The blue tags all go to the rooms in the east wing. Red tags is the middle. Yellow is the west wing. When you go to heat the west wing, you gotta remember that's the side of the hotel that really catches the weather. When it whoops, those rooms get as cold as a frigid woman with an ice cube up her works. You can run your press all the way to 80 on West Wing days. I would anyway. The thermostat's upstairs, Jack began. Watson shook his head vehemently, making his fluffy hair bounce on his skull. They ain't hooked up. They're just there for the show. Some of these people from California, they don't think things is right unless they got it hot enough to grow a palm tree in their bedroom. All the heat comes from down here. Gotta watch the press through. See your creep? He tapped the main dial, which had crept from 100 pounds per square inch to 102, as Watson soliloquized. Jack felt a sudden shiver cross his back in a hurry and thought, the goose just walked over my grave.
You know what a soliloquy is?
What?
It's like a sudden realization. Like in the Simpsons movie, he talked about Homer Simpson. You will have what is a soliloquy? And he says, if you shake it more than once, it's just playing with yourself. It was hilarious.
Then Watson gave the pressure wheel a spin and dumped the boiler off. There was great hissing and the needle dropped back to 91.
And the tree slapped him?
Watson twisted the valve shut and the hissing died reluctantly. She creeps, Watson said. You tell that fat little Peckerwood Ullman. He drags out the account books and spends 3 hours showing how we can't afford a new one until 1982. I tell you, this whole place is gonna go sky high. And I just hope that fat guy's here to ride the rocket. God, I wish I could be as charitable as my mother was. She could see the good in everyone. Me, I'm just as mean as a snake with the shingles. What the hell, a man can't help his nature. Now you gotta remember to come down here twice a day and once at night before you rack in. You gotta check the press. If you forget, it'll just creep and creep. And like as not, you and your family will wake up in the fucking moon. You just dump her off a little and you'll have no trouble. I'd say that's a remarkably astute analysis. Watson looked at him admiringly. Say, you really are a college fella, aren't you? Talk just like a book. I admire that, as long as the fella ain't one of those fairy boys. A lot of them are. You know who stirred up all those college riots a few years ago? The homosexuals. That's who. They get frustrated and have to cut loose. Coming out of the closet, they call it. Holy shit, I don't know what the world's coming to. Now if she freezes, she most likely gonna freeze right up in the shaft. No heat, you see. If it happens, use this. He reached into a broken orange crate and produced a small gas torch. You just unstrap the installation when you find the ice plug and put the heat right to her. Get it? Yes, but what if a pipe freezes outside the utility core? That won't happen if you're doing your job and keeping the place heated. You can't get to the other pipes anyway. Don't you fret about it. You'll have no trouble. Beastly place down here, cobwebby. Gives me the horrors, it does. Ullman said the first winter caretaker killed his family and himself. Yeah, that guy Grady, he was a bad actor. I knew that the minute I saw him, always grinning like an egg-sucked dog. That was when they were just starting out here, and that fat fuck Ullman. He would have hired that Boston Strangler if he'd worked for minimum wage. Was a ranger from the national park that found him. The phone was out, all of them in the west wing on the 3rd floor, frozen solid. Too bad about the little girls. 8 and 6 they was. Cute as cut buttons. Oh, that was a hell of a mess. That Ullman, he manages some honky-tonky resort place down in Florida in the off-season, and he caught a plane up in Denver and hired a sleigh to take him up here from Sidewinder because the roads were closed. A sleigh, can you believe that? He about split a gut trying to keep it out of the papers. Did pretty well, gotta give him that. There was an item in the Denver Post, and of course the obituary in that pissant little rag they have down in Estes Park. Estes Park. But that was just about all. Pretty good considering the reputation this place has got. I expected some reporter would dig it all up again and just sorta put put Grady in it as an excuse to rake over the scandals. What scandals? Watson shrugged. Any big hotels have got scandals, he said, just like every big hotel has got a ghost. Why? People come and go. Sometimes one of them will pop up in this room. Heart attack or stroke or something like that. Hotels are superstitious places. No 13th floor or room 13, no mirrors on the back of the door. You come in through stuff like that. Why, we lost a lady just this last July. Ullman had to take care of that, and you can bet your ass he did. That's what they pay him, $22,000 a season for. Okay. And as much as I dislike the little prick, he earns it. It's like some people just come here to throw up, and they hire a man like Ullman to clean up the messes. Here's this woman, must be 60 years old, my age, and her hair is dyed just as red as a stoplight. Tits sagging just down to her belly button on account of she ain't wearing no brassy ear. Big varicose veins all up and down her legs, so they look like a couple of road maps. The jewels dripping off her neck and arms and hanging out her ears. And she's got this kid with her. He can't be no more than 17, and hair down to his asshole, and his crotch bulging like he stuffed it with the funny pages. So they're here a week, 10 days maybe, and every night is the same drill. Down in the Colorado lounge from 5 to 7, her sucking up Singapore slings like they're gonna outlaw him tomorrow, and him with just one bottle of Olympia. Making it last. And she'd be making jokes and saying all these witty things. And every time she said one, he'd grin, just like an ape. Like she had strings tied to the corner of his mouth. Only after a few days you could see it getting harder and harder for him to grin. And God knows what he had to think about to get his pump primed by bedtime. Well, they'd go in for dinner, him walking and her staggering, drunk as a coot. You know, and he'd be pinching the waitresses and grinning at him when she wasn't looking. Hell, even he had bets on how long he'd last. Watson shrugged. Then he comes down one night around 10. Saying his wife is indisposed, which meant she was passing out again like every other night they was there. And out again and he's going to get her some stomach medicine. So off he goes in the little Porsche they come in, and that's the last we see of him. Next morning she comes down and tries to put on this big act. But all day she's getting paler and paler, and Mr. Ullman asks her, sort of diplomatic-like, would she like him to notify the state cops just in case maybe he had a little accident or something? She's on him like a cat. No. He's a fine driver. She isn't worried. Everything's under control. He'll be back for dinner. So that afternoon she steps into the Colorado around 3 and never has no dinner at all. She goes up to her room around 10:30, and that's the last time anybody saw her alive. What happened? Country coroner, and she took about 30 sleeping pills on top of all that booze. Her husband showed up the next day, some big shot lawyer from New York. He gave old Ullman 4 different shades of holy hell. I'll sue this, and I'll sue that, and when I'm through, you won't even be able to find a clean pair of underwear, stuff like that. But Ullman's good, the sucker. Ullman got him quieted down. Probably asked that big shot how he'd like to see his wife splashed all over the New York papers. Wife of prominent New York blah blah found dead with belly full of sleeping pills after playing hide the salami with a kid young enough to be her grandson. The state cops found a Porsche in back of this all-night burger joint down in Lyons and Ullman pulled a few strings to get it released to that lawyer. Then both of them ganged up on old Archer Houghton, which is the country coroner, and got him to change the verdict to accidental death, heart attack. Now old Archer's driving a Chrysler. I don't begrudge him. A man's got to take it where he finds it, especially when he starts getting along in years. Out came the bandana. Honk, peek, out of sight. So what happens? About a week later, this lady of a chambermaid, Dolores Vickery by name, she gives out with a heck of a shriek while she's making up the room where those two stayed, and she faints dead away. When she comes to she says she seen the dead woman in the bathroom lying naked in the tub. Her face was all purple and puffy, she says, and she was grinning at me. So Ullman gave her 2 weeks worth of walking papers and told her to get lost. I figure there's maybe 45 people died in this hotel since my grandfather opened it for business in 1910. He looked shrewdly at Jack. You know how most of them go? Heart attack or stroke while they're banging the lady they're with. That's what these resorts get a lot of. Old types that want one last fling. They come up here to the mountains to pretend they're 20 again. Sometimes something gives, and not all the guys who ran this place was as good as Ullman is at keeping it out of the papers. So the Overlook's got a reputation, yeah. I'll bet the Biltmore in New York City has got a reputation if you ask the right people. But no ghosts? Mr. Torrance, I've worked here all my life. I played here when I was a kid, no older than your boy in that wallet snapshot you showed me. I never seen a ghost yet. You want to come out back with me? I'll show you the equipment shed. Fine. As Watson reached up to turn off the light, Jack said, There sure are a lot of papers down here. Oh, you're not kidding. Seems like they go back 1,000 years. Newspapers and old invoices and bills of lading and Christ knows what else. My dad used to keep up with them pretty good when he had the old wood-burning furnace, but now they've all got out of hand. Some year I got to get a boy to haul them down to Sidewinder and burn them, if Ullman will stand the expense. I guess he will if I holler rat loud enough. Then there are rats? Yeah, I guess there's some. I got the traps and the poison Mr. Ullman wants you to use up in the attic and down here. You keep a good eye on your boy, Mr. Torrance. You wouldn't want nothing to happen to him. No, I sure wouldn't. Coming from Watson, the advice didn't sting. They went to the stairs and paused there for a moment while Watson blew his nose again. You'll find all the tools you need out here, and some you don't, I guess. And there's the shingles. Did Ullman tell you about that? Yes, he wants part of the west roof reshingled. He'll get all the for free out of you that he can. The fat little prick. And then whine you down in the spring about how you didn't do the job half right. I told him once right to his face, I said. Watson's words faded away to a comforting drone as they mounted the stairs. Jack Torrance looked back over his shoulder, once into the impenetrable, musty-smelling darkness, and thought that if there was ever a place that should have ghosts, this was it. He thought of Grady, locked in by the soft, implacable snow, going quietly berserk and committing his atrocity. Did they scream? He wondered. Poor Grady, feeling it close in on him more every day, and knowing at last that for him spring would never come. He shouldn't have been here, and he shouldn't have lost his temper. As he followed Watson through the door, the words echoed back to him like a knell, accompanied by a sharp snap like a breaking pencil lead. Dear God, he could use a drink, or 1,000 of them.